Welcome to Love and Leadership, the podcast that helps you lead with both your head and your heart, plus a bit of humor. I'm Kristen Sharkey, a leadership coach and facilitator.
And I'm Mike Sharkey, a senior living and hospitality executive. We're a couple of leadership nerds who also happen to be a couple.
Join us each week as we share our unfiltered opinions, break down influential books, and interview inspiring guests.
Whether you're a seasoned executive or a rising star, we're here to help you level up your leadership game and amplify your impact.
Hello, and welcome back to Love and Leadership. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Mike.
And it's that time of the month where we put out an episode, so you guys still know we're alive.
Woohoo! It's so hard. Oh, my God.
Yeah, we're figuring out how to do all this stuff.
Again, why did no one tell us that parenting was hard?
Yeah. This is a running joke of ours because when I was about to give birth, we were so fed up from people in our lives telling us how hard parenting was. It's like, well...
I mean, I still, I didn't love that, only Nicole was just like, yes. Everybody else was like, good luck, motherfucker, But I wouldn't trade him for he's the best thing ever.
No, he's the best thing in the world.
He's so great.
He's amazing. So yes, we're busy, but we're here.
We're not even that busy. I mean, we're busy, but he plays by himself for 2-3 hours at a time.
Yeah. Just very noisily, so we can't record during that.
I mean, yeah, but, we can do other things.
Yes, which is a blessing.
Oh, so nice.
Anywho, I'm actually really excited to do this episode topic. I think this is...
Dun, dun, dun. No?
Something that we surprisingly have not really talked about much on our podcast that I think is extremely relevant to the times, obviously. And that is AI.
Oh my God.
Leadership.
I feel like it's exploded really in the last 6 months. I don't even feel like it's a year now.
There's been so many developments.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one recently was Claude Code, getting fully rolled out, which is...
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Claude.
I think Anthropic said that they're using it internally it's already taken over 50% of their coding or something like that.
Yeah.
It's huge from a coding perspective and just the ability to create anything without needing to actually
code. Claude. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, I knew that was happening.
Yeah, and I've heard so much about that in the last couple weeks and just how it will you can just tell it to create a website and it'll create a pretty decent website, just like that, among many other things. So that's been talked about a lot because, especially when it comes to replacing or taking, what does that mean for software engineers, especially?
I don't think it's good.
Which used to be a very consistent, lucrative, always in demand job. And I think it still is at a lot of levels. But it's the entry level.
Yeah, but how do you get to those middle levels if you don't have any entry level people?
Exactly, yeah. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And there's also just been a lot of layoffs again, end of last year, early this year. And companies have been, maybe truthfully or not truthfully in some cases, saying it's because of AI.
I think mostly it's not truthful.
Yeah, I think it's, yes.
I mean, there's some, right? But I mean, I am not an expert in this field. But I come from a field that people would love to automate some of the line level jobs, right? They'd love to not have housekeepers in hotels because that's where all their money goes. But in order to do that, you have to have robotics. That go, and cooking too. Can you create a robot that cooks? I'm sure they can, but they haven't yet. There's, I think I've seen a video circulating recently with this Chinese robot that's really doing very successful kung fu, but it's not, it's not on the front lines or anything like that yet. So will AI eventually replace your plumber? Probably, but not as quickly as the computer programmer.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, and there's so many things we can talk about from this. I'm sure this will be the first of many episodes But what kind of inspired me for this particular episode is like a few months ago, we were having lunch with a couple friends of ours who both happened to be very successful leaders at major tech companies. And they had made a comment about like when AI takes over our jobs. That really made me think about AI and leadership. And I have some pretty strong feelings about what AI can and cannot replace. So what I wanted to talk about on this episode is, can AI replace the role of a leader? Which is not a yes or no answer. There's some things it can replace and some things it can't.
I mean, we're like a couple hours into this, you know, to the AI revolution, even to the computer revolution. You know, I remember a time when there were no computers in homes or anything like that, you know. And now we have smartphones. And so I don't know what is possible. I don't think anybody knows what's possible at this moment.
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, it's changing so rapidly. And I think in particular with like the Claude Code stuff and just it's accelerated, like what AI can do today is accelerated faster than even the people who are working on those products anticipated.
So, of course, because it's probably logarithmic or something, the scale.
Well, and it's
not linear.
It can create,
it creates
advances itself, sure. Right? So
what I will say as an overarching statement, a computer cannot replace a life form. It cannot replace a human, because a human has a spirit and a soul and actual feeling. And though you can replicate what feeling looks like, I don't want to say you can't. So we go back to like Star Trek, The Next Generation, and the whole like saga of Data. You know, those.
Well, I think like sci-fi is where we have dealt.
Well,
with this
sure, but
more
historically, but the original Star Trek, you know, the character without feeling was Spock, right? But the Vulcans actually had very powerful emotions. They had just learned to control them. But then Next Generation, you have the robot Data, who is very lifelike and very funny and very charming, and he is in a long quest to become human. I don't know that that's not possible. You know, also like there, you know, the series goes on long enough and Q gives him actual feelings at some point and he has an emotion chip. I don't know. I don't know what's possible or not, but I do know that, you know, a robot doesn't have actual feelings and AI doesn't have actual empathy. You know, we're trying out this AI companion at my senior living community. It was developed originally for soldiers with PTSD, like as a companion. They can it texts, it calls. It's very good. And, you know, the designers have stated that it displays more empathy than an actual human. And I've interacted with the AI bot, and it does, but it also doesn't feel real.
Right.
So even though it's saying things that are pathetic, I know that there's no actual feeling there. Yeah. So can a robot cultivate long enough to like earn a soul and a human body attachment? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not the designer of the cosmos. But like... Yeah,
I mean, that's a large philosophical question that I don't think we're going to answer in this.
Well, we have
episode.
45 minutes. I think we can answer. Well, all I know is like what I see in sci-fi and you know.
That's like, it's the possibilities realm. And then there's kind of like, what do we have today, which are exceptionally powerful. Like LLMs are extremely powerful, but they also have their limitations.
What is it? LLM?
LLM. So that's ChatGPT, Claude.
What does LLM stand for?
Large language model.
Large language model. Yeah. I mean, that seems to be where that encoding seems to be where they are very strong right now.
Yeah. And then an LLM is fundamentally, you know, it's trained on this massive amount of data, and it's primarily predicting what the next likely word is based on all of this information that's been fed. So there's different types of AI, but that's the one that's really been revolutionary in the past.
I mean, I use it a lot.
2-3 years.
I use ChatGPT or Copilot a lot. I use it to read contracts. I use it to read very complicated, you know, bond indentures that would take me. Can I understand them? Sure. But I feed this, this 300-page document into ChatGPT, and it understands it perfectly, can answer questions and extract exactly what I need from it. It's a brilliant, executive assistant with like an didactic memory. It's like that kid in Suits, right? Like if you ever watch that show, like he impresses Harvey because he like reads law books and he remembers the entirety of the law books. But then there's that funny meme that's floating around with ChatGPT where somebody asks it, "Can I eat this mushroom?" And ChatGPT goes, "Absolutely, that looks delicious." And then it kills him because it's a poisonous mushroom.
Right.
And ChatGPT goes, "Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry. That's my mistake.
Yeah.
Let me know if you'd like to learn more about mushrooms."
Yeah.
So,
There are limitations.
There are limitations.
At least as of right now. But it is developing, improving extremely rapidly.
Oh, it's progressing so rapidly.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, so what I wanted to go through today is talk about what aspects of a leader do, and this is primarily my opinions, and this can change based on what happens with AI. But what I think, and it'd be interesting to see if you agree with me on some of this, what I think it can and can't replace from leadership. Spoiler alert, I do not think it can replace leaders because there's a human element to that, though.
I agree. I think your conscience is something profound and spiritual. And although you can probably program a computer, mimic that, you can't actually program it.
Yeah, computers don't actually have feelings. And
yeah, I don't think so.
I do think there is a certain type of leader who should be concerned. And we've talked about this type of leader, like people for whom like leadership is really tightly linked to having more information than others, being the expert in the room, just like being the person with all the answers. And that's like that's the foundation of leadership for them. I think that is...
I feel personally attacked.
I mean, of course, there's like institutional knowledge, but even like when you're talking about integrating AI into enterprise software, like there's all sorts of things that can become less of a concern over time. So if your differentiator as a leader is information-based, I think that is a concern because AI is extremely good at information, right? But when it comes down to deciding what matters, making meaning, being present, and like taking accountability in situations where there's not a perfect answer, I do not see AI being able to take that role over, at least as of now. So going more into this, I think things that like leadership roles that AI can automate or replace, or at least do much of the work of. I think it's most useful. You call it like an executive assistant.
Sure.
I think of it as like an always-on thought partner.
Mm-hmm.
And it can generally like replace or automate functions that are information-heavy, pattern-based, structured, repeatable, draftable. Like I think these are areas. So I would say like 5 areas I think particularly apply to leaders. So information processing. I think this is the one most of our minds jump to right away, but the researching topics, summarizing reports, scanning large inputs, pulling out key insights. That is definitely an area where AI can save a tremendous amount of time and do a arguably better job.
Oh, it does a way better job.
Way better job.
Way better job.
Yeah.
But you still need a human to, at least at the moment, to put the guardrails and the direction of the thought, Otherwise, I mean, that's my experience with it.
Yes. I think it's more leaders, like the shift here is leaders moving from information holder to information interpreter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one.
So it's interesting. I don't remember where I heard this. It was maybe like 10 years ago. Somebody talking about, there was like a quote about this new invention completely degrading a human's ability to think and remember. And the way it was phrased, everyone thought they were talking about the internet and Google. But it was actually a quote, I think from Plato, talking about writing. And before, like, so if you don't know, like, our alphabet comes also from like Carthage and the Phoenicians. And that's the phonetic alphabet, which was eventually adopted by the Greeks. And, those are, the origins of Western writing are in Sumeria. And I'm not this type of historian, but, before this became like a thing, you had to remember the Odyssey. Mm-hmm. You had to remember the Iliad. And that was part of like being a scholar or something, is you could remember these giant compendiums of like, be they stories or whatever. And the thinking of the day was like, this was going to completely like mess up the human's ability to like remember stuff, because before writing was in vogue, you had to just commit everything to memory. And it very much pertains to our modern time, where everything is now remembered by Google, the Google, right? And the entirety of, Western, especially civilization, is available on Google. So did that make us dumber? I don't know. It certainly changed the way the brain works, though. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this information, and as you were saying, what made me think about it is like information processing. A human is never going to be as good as a computer at processing information, data, raw data. I mean, there's some people, right? There's a couple, there's people who have beat computers in terms of their ability to, do arithmetic and things like that. But, large scale, like, like quantum computations or like astronomical trajectories, you're not going to beat the Pleiades.
And there's also the factor of like cognitive bias that comes into that, which AI definitely has bias, but it works a little differently, right?
How does AI bias work?
I feel like I'm not the right person to answer that question. Yeah. It's a big question. A lot of it depends on what it's trained on. And
so, I got a chance to ask questions of the founder of Safely You. So Safely You is this really cool AI program that we use in senior living. It involves, they call it a sensor, but it's also a camera that, watches people. And if they fall, it knows they're falling, it works for people, especially with dementia, who can't report what happened around the fall. And if someone falls, it'll give us like 10 minutes of data to see what really happened. And they're analyzing, tens and tens of thousands of falls to extrapolate data. And I asked him, I think I'd just read Daniel Kahneman's book, and I asked him if AI could ever have like system 2 thinking, which was like where you reach automaticity. And his view was that the only difference between system 1 thinking and system 2 thinking was the number of times his AI model had thought about something, that it wasn't a different process. It was just more reps. And what we take for, automaticity or intuition or things like that are simply repetitions.
Interesting.
So that's why I can't say what AI can do with enough repetitions.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. I think even a lot of people who are experts in this field have been surprised by the rate of progression.
I mean, this is how, do you want Skynet? This is how we get Skynet. Nobody's, and if anybody's watched The Expanse, which is a great science fiction series, I think the most like real and potentially painful thing is like nobody has a job. They're all just barely subsisting on whatever government handout that they can get, and only the elite class like have it, and nobody has a job.
Oh my gosh, I haven't watched that
in
a while.
Great show. Yeah, great show. And they don't even really like, it's not about AI at all, like, but that's the future, and we got, everybody's doom and gloom about this, and there's definitely about to be a major shift.
Oh yeah, it's massive.
I think the thing though, in order to like truly be a paradigm shift, you need robotics to catch up to the brain of AI. And then who knows what's going to happen.
Which it will eventually.
It will eventually. It will in our lifetime, probably. You know, will I see fully robotic housekeepers in my lifetime? Yeah, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Will I see fully robotic line cooks? Yeah, probably. You know, will I see a robotic chef? Maybe. You know, if you feed him enough recipes and enough like Gordon Ramsay videos, you know, if the AI watches enough like Kitchen Nightmares, can it become a good chef? I don't know. Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. These are big questions.
But I think there's a heart and a spirit that they won't be able to really replicate. I think it'll be an approximation of humanity without the heart of it.
Yeah, that's my feeling as well. Yeah. So getting back to these leadership roles or functions that it can do. So information processing was one. Second is around structured analysis and pattern recognition.
Yeah.
So like identifying trends and metrics, comparing options, running scenario analysis, creating like pros and cons breakdowns.
So when I was facing a particularly difficult strategic situation, I fed it into ChatGPT. And the prompts are all the prompts are whether you get like, coal or gold. And I found, I don't know, some Instagram account with some cool prompts, but the prompt was like, look at this situation that I'm facing. And it advised me as 5 different voices: an optimist, a pessimist, me 10 years in the future. I don't remember what the 4th one was, but the 5th one was Elon Musk.
Yeah.
But, it was pretty awesome.
It was really interesting.
It was really interesting,
reading the results of it, yeah.
And you throw out the optimist, you throw out the pessimist. I sometimes I've asked it to advise me as Zhuge Liang, who is a very famous, strategist and saint from ancient China. Like, and it comes up with some pretty amazing stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
What it doesn't have is intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Elon Musk one was funny. But it was kind of true. Like,
yeah, I mean, in a very...
Well, it wasn't about being, it was someone who is extremely, business minded and thinks that they know what's up.
Yeah.
And it did. And it was like, is this signal or is this noise? And it correctly identified mostly what was noise and looked for opportunity. It was very opportunistic.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, obviously not the most popular figure.
Again.
But it produced but has a very clear documented voice that Claude or ChatGPT was able to pull in a very clear point of view based on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things like that, like scenario analysis, it's a great example. Flagging anomalies, pro-con breakdowns. Like these are all things, and maybe we should do a separate episode where we talk about some of our favorite AI uses from a leader's perspective.
I've seen a lot of stuff out there now. There's ways to like hack ChatGPT's like response to you and take out a lot of the noise that it, all these stupid emojis and dashes and like,
yes,
and I over time though, I can tell you it's learning my voice.
Oh yeah. It learns it very well over
I
time.
used it to do like my director's performance reviews and it sounds like me. I didn't have to feed in that much information. It sounds like me.
Yeah. No, I think that's another, that actually gets into the third one. So the second one to kind of wrap, so like leaders move from analyzing everything themselves to deciding what matters and what to act on. And the third area of like drafting and documentation. So I've found it incredibly helpful to like feed it bullet points and stuff and then have it put it into an actual like coherent voice that sounds like me, which is what you're talking about with performance reviews. And for a leader, that can be everything from like first drafts of email communications, meeting agendas, meeting summaries.
I use the summarize thing a lot.
Yes, I know. Yeah, because I know you have an AI integrated into your meetings, and
I use it to summarize emails. It's like as I've ascended in power, if you will, I realize how little time I have to, and then I have a child, like to read your, 3-page. I don't have time to read your 3-page email. Give it to me in 3 bullet points. And if you can't do that, I'm going to ask, Copilot to do it for me.
Yep. Create an executive summary for me.
Yeah, that's my executive assistant. Like, give me the.
Yep.
Why are you paying me? You're paying me to use my experience and ideally my wisdom to make strategic and valuative judgments. That's what you're paying me for. You're not paying me to like process information. Mm-hmm. That can be done at a much more junior level or by my, AI assistant.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, there's so much there that it's very useful for drafting and documentation. So like the shift there is really leaders moving from writing every word yourself to being more of an editor and a voice setter, tone setter for it. But
if it's longer than like 2 sentences,
Oh yeah,
it's going in the chatbot there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like, please give me the key points from this.
Well, I'm teaching the team this stuff too. It's like when my maintenance director gets a quote, like I have him putting it in Copilot and first asking it like the real terms, any red flags, and then comparing the quote to known industry standards.
Nice.
And it will come back and say this quote is on the expensive side, but not unreasonable. And for what you're getting, it tracks.
You're setting up these very well. So that gets into like routine and rule-based decisions. So things like applying a standard policies or a framework, like saying like, this is a framework where I'm analyzing this from, analyze this particular contract based on this framework. Things like prioritization frameworks, like structured approval flows, repeatable operating decisions, like basically any kind of decision that really operates off of a very like rule-based routine kind of function and doesn't need that like conscious analysis of is a place where AI can really help. Like the shift there is moving from being like a decision executor to being more of a decision designer and then an exception handler.
Something funny, I've been watching, like everybody who knows me knows I'm into watches, right? And the movements, there's mostly can be very simple, but also incredibly complicated. Your normal Seiko is a very simple time-only watch, or it has a GMT hand or a date complication or something like that. But you can get fabulously complicated with the movements, and there are movements that are hundreds of years old that have like perpetual calendars, using no electronics whatsoever. This machine can keep track of the leap years and the leap dates and the 28-day months but I've seen over the last year some incredibly complicated watches coming out. Like there's and a couple of them are from Audemars Piguet, and there's this pocket watch that has like, I don't know, 50 different complications. It has all this like ability to track solar movements, and it will be accurate for like, I don't know, 3 million years or in the future if you keep it wound. And I can't prove it, but I'm very certain that these movements are being designed with AI. They're so complicated. I think to some degree they're beyond, the human brain to be able to put a small machine in the size of a pocket watch. I don't know. I was thinking about that, but it's like using AI as an assistant for an idea. Mm-hmm. But I think the question is whether AI will come up with the ideas on its own. And if you let it, what will it come up with? You're setting, you don't have the notes in front of you. I don't have
but you're setting up
and the funny thing was,
perfectly.
This is the first time I've ever done an episode without the computer in front of me. And I kind of just asked you if I could do it, but then I thought about it and I was like, I didn't mean for this to be intentional, but I am actually not using a computer to do this. It's just me. There's something to that.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I don't need you.
Computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. And then you go to like the Terminator series and there's like those air-gapped computers in Colorado, like everything else went down with Skynet. But the one.
Well, and like, never mind the fact that we're using computer to record this.
Yeah, but we wouldn't necessarily have to. We could use a tape deck or something like that.
I mean, okay, sure.
Okay. Right. I'm just saying, like.
Anyway, so you're setting these up with, which is where we were.
It's called human intuition.
So that was the last area that I have for this, which I think is actually an underrated use for AI for leaders, but around like idea generation and option expansion. And
so good.
So good for that. Like, we've talked about this in a couple of different past episodes where for most decisions, there's only like 2 options considered, and adding a third option dramatically increases the success rate of your decisions, even just a third option.
By like 100-fold or something like that.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact statistic, but I think it's in our, I feel like that was from the coaching habit, and I think it's again in our decisions.
Yeah.
Decision-making
that third
episode.
Option, and we talked about it in politics, is like if there was a third party.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's something where, given all of our cognitive biases, we tend to just get locked into seeing 2 potential options, and just running things through AI and having it help you brainstorm alternatives is incredibly powerful. Obviously, you have to then cut that down, but that's a really powerful use. Like things like generating like reframes for things, like exploring multiple solution paths, creating like variations on a strategy. Like, these are all areas where AI can be a really powerful thought partner. So with that, leaders are moving from purely idea generator to more of an idea curator.
Sure. I use this in my work a lot.
It's very powerful. Yeah. Yes. So with that, I wanted to give 5 leadership roles or functions that AI can't replace at this point, in my opinion. So one of them is judgment, because AI can look at a data set. It can create like a clear like decision by all the data it has, but leadership often means making decisions when the data set itself is incomplete and the outcomes are unclear.
In fact, that's the very definition of leadership.
Right. Yes. And like, AI can help generate recommendations. It can show you different scenarios, tell you what's worked before, but it can't replace your intuition.
It cannot replace your intuition. And it can approximate it with the size of data. I keep thinking about like military strategy, and it's like, you feed the entirety of like military history into whatever, and it's going to come up with a lot of sound strategies, but I don't know, there's something missing.
Yeah. And I think ultimately as a leader, like you are making a choice, and you are deciding like what you are willing to stand behind and own the consequences of. And like AI can't really understand what that means
or
for
feel
a human.
It. Jocko talked about it a lot in, as you know, my favorite book, Extreme Ownership, How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win. But he talks about it a lot. Well, but sure. But he talks about the emotional weight of sending people into battle. The scary thing for him is not dying. It's somebody else, him making a mistake and them dying. And he has to live with that for the rest of his life. That is not something that AI can feel.
Yeah. Yeah. The weight of that. Yes. Yep.
The weight of your decisions. And especially when life and death is on the line.
Mm-hmm. And then second, emotional presence and regulation. Like, leadership is fundamentally emotional work. This has been one of our main point of views on this podcast, right? But like things like reading the room, noticing things like tension, fear, disengagement, resistance, like staying grounded when people are anxious or reactive. Like, AI can approximate that. And ChatGPT, as you were talking about with the spot, right? Like, ChatGPT can appear like very empathetic depending which model you're using and how you've trained it. But AI doesn't have a nervous system. So it's not actually like truly absorbing the emotional weight of change. And when you're talking about like in times of uncertainty, like people are really responding to your emotional steadiness, like not just the brilliance of the plan. And then third, meaning making. And a critical part of leadership is helping people understand the why, like why this decision, why now, why this matters. And AI can summarize information, but it can't like create shared meaning. Like shared meaning is really something that builds over time from like context, trust, relationships. And when you're talking about like times of change or ambiguity, which is like all the time these
Especially
days,
now. Yeah.
especially now, people aren't like asking what's happening. They're really asking, what does this mean for me?
Yeah.
And while AI can like give you all the information, but only you can really decide what matters. And I find that that's in using AI for so many functions. I feel like a lot of what I'm doing is going through all of this information and that it's generated and deciding what matters ultimately. And then communicating that, right? Making other people feel that.
As my business office manager says, period.
And then fourth, this actually goes back to what you said with the first one, but accountability.
Yeah.
AI does not carry moral responsibility.
With the mushrooms. Like, oh, you're right. Sorry, that was poisonous.
Yeah.
Do you want to learn? Oh, no, you're dead. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and there are some very dark examples too.
Yeah. No,
we don't need to get into all that. But yeah, AI does not carry moral responsibility. And leaders are making choices that affects people's livelihoods, their well-being, their sense of safety. Maybe in the case of a military leader, like their life or death, right?
It's life or death.
And this really involves like values. It involves trade-offs and sometimes harm, like even when your intentions are good. And I think that's also important, right? AI recommendations do not absolve responsibility. Like as a leader, you need to be able to say, that was my call. Back when GPS came out, people would say like, oh, well, if like GPS tells you to turn into the river and you run your car into the river.
People died because of Apple Maps.
I mean, yeah.
Not a lot, but a couple.
Yeah. It's like
It wasn't even that like I know one guy like died in the desert because it like turned him into Death Valley or something and he didn't recognize.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you are still ultimately accountable
Oopsie.
for your decisions. Even if you're using technology.
You gotta put that mushroom meme in the notes.
Yes, if you can find it.
Oh, I can find it.
I'm sure you can.
It's ChatGPT finds it.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good at searching information.
Oh, yes.
I'll use it to compare metal for long swords. I'll use it to compare, like you can it's so great.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly useful if you're using it correctly.
It helped me build a daily workflow operating system based on the longsword guards of Fiore. Yeah, pretty convincingly.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm glad you can have these conversations with ChatGPT.
And cry, and that makes it sound weird. But
no, like you have a thought partner to nerd out about swords with. I mean, you still nerd out with me, but you know, it's like
you have no idea what we talk about when you're not around.
Oh my God. Anyway, and I mean, that kind of leads into the last area, which is around like relationship repair. Because I think this is another fundamental part of being a leader is you are showing up when things don't land well.
Yeah.
And AI can be very powerful for helping you like draft words, like helping you prepare for difficult conversations, but it can't actually like repair relationships. Like repair is something that requires like presence, humility, like genuine accountability. And trust is built on how leaders show up in those moments. So I think these are all like just the very human parts of leadership that and maybe I'll be wrong, but at this point I don't see it.
I think it's up to us to like chart the course. Right. So what are we saying? Conscience, accountability, responsibility, empathy, feeling, these are things that, AI cannot replace a human for and should not be used to try and replace a human for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. So I think that's a good spot
Sure.
to wrap this conversation.
Yeah. We should do this again in a year and see where we are.
Oh my gosh. See how much has changed.
Yeah.
It's, crazy times we're living in many ways.
Well, I will say, though, if you're a leader and you're not taking advantage of AI, you're falling behind.
1,000%.
Yeah. And I work in a very analog industry, the service industry, hospitality industry. If you're not using it to level up and level up your team, you're leaving a lot on the table. And
you're putting your job at risk.
Sure.
Eventually. It's going to be like longer in some industries than others.
Yeah.
But,
and going to like my ED conference and hearing what everybody's doing, they're not doing that much, at this point.
But at some point, some industries are going to be much slower to catch up. But I mean, I think AI is truly like an adapt or die.
Oh, for sure it is.
Situation.
For sure.
All industries eventually.
Eventually. We haven't reached that point for most of the industries, but...
No, not yet.
If you're... It's a competitive world out there, and if you're not leveraging every opportunity you have for, operational efficiencies and I need ChatGPT to find the word that I'm looking for. I got dad brain. I really, my vocabulary, I don't know. I'm having trouble with my search function in my brain now. I just ChatGPT, what word,
Yeah, it has been a nice tool for parenting brain.
Oh my God.
All right. Well,
we use AI to monitor our son's breathing,
That's true.
I'm watching him breathe.
Literally, Mike has it up.
Yeah.
We can see how his breath.
But it makes mistakes too. It's not a substitute for a human.
It also makes mistakes. Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you guys for listening. And we will see you again next time.
Bye, everyone.
The Love and Leadership Podcast is produced and co-hosted by me, Kristen Brun-Sharkey, and co-hosted by Mike Sharkey. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. We can't stress enough just how much these reviews help. You can follow us on LinkedIn under Kristen Brun-Sharkey and Michael Sharkey, and on Instagram as Love Leader Pod. You can also find more information on our website, loveandleadershippod.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you again next episode.